What's going on, guys? It's your boy DJ Fat Snacks here with another edition of Snack Bites and Reviews. On this episode, we are still doing the DC TV, animated TV episodes, and I think I'm going to go ahead and get started with Harley Quinn and her season 4, episode 8. We're going to do that. Bro, this show is just forever and ever just doing the most and crazy stuff. I'm like really enjoying this season, definitely. And they come up with all type of different ways to just change up how they're doing stuff. So like we start off with Ivy and Harley. They returning from, I guess, the future from the last episode, and so now instead of coming back when they were supposed to come back, they coming back a couple of days later. So they're looking at everything. They think they could go back in the time machine to kind of like try to go back to when it was supposed to happen before the apocalypse starts, but it was already too late. And as soon as they were thinking about getting in the ship, the ship explodes. So you're like, what in the world is going on? So then what they do is they go back 6 days to let us know, what happened in that time they were gone. So 6 days, we see Bane traveling to Italy, trying to fix this freaking pasta maker handle. I'm like, why? What's the purpose of this? I thought that thing was like long gone. I thought they just forgot about that whole story plot. But clearly, that's what this episode is about. So basically, he goes to where the place it was actually made, and find out that the piece and the part has been discontinued. So now, like, Bane is like, oh, I gotta go find the best pasta maker in the world. But then he goes and see if he could actually get the people to find one in the back of the office that he was at, and the lady was like, "Look, we don't have it." So he got so mad that he blew them up. He blew the whole shop up and everything, and then he left. And he goes off and he goes to find his best pasta maker. So we head back to the headquarters of the Legion of Doom, and we see that Nora is pretending to be Ivy with the wig on and everything. But while she's pretending to be Ivy, she's also obviously getting drunk. So she throws the wig off, lays it on the table, and she looks at TV. And on the TV, you see that it's actually Lex talking. Well, they're talking about Lex making a laser device from his moon base to so-called fix the ozone layer. So everybody's like, okay, cool. So they go to you head to where he is, and he's getting ready to actually start the actual demonstration to show what it could do. When they shoot the laser is 10 feet short. Lex gets pissed and tries to find out ways to make it make it work, because he can't just push the earth and the moon closer together. Maybe he could have probably fixed the laser to give him a little bit more range, but whatever. This show has to be crazy, so we're gonna find different ways. So we go back to Bane, where he's like on his way to find his best pasta maker or whatever, and he's asking the locals. So like one guy, he's asking where can he find the best pasta maker, and then right when he looks down and realizes the guy done laid down and went to sleep on him, so he's mad about that. Some kids roll up on him, and he tries to tell them to do some stuff, and they point to a house. As he looks at the house, he turns back around, and the kids done jacked him for his little moped. So now he's stuck having to walk up this mountain to this lady's house. That was funny. I was like, wow, how you let these little kids? How did Bane, of all people, let these little kids jack him for his moped and get it? First of all, they get away, and then he just says, screw it, I'm just gonna walk to where I gotta go. So that was funny. So we get back to where Nora and them is in the office, and look, Nora is up here trying to get some good, if you know what I mean, from Captain Code. But every time they get to a point to where they're about to do something, they're interrupted, and then she even interrupts this. The first one, she interrupts it because she's hungry and she wants to get a bowl of pasta. Hint, hint. That's the reason why Bane is actually on this whole quest to find the best pasta maker. So she goes to get a bowl of pasta, and then she realizes Lex is over here talking to Volcana to try to convince her to make more volcanoes erupt at one time around the Earth, so they could expand the ozone layer to get the extra 10 feet he needs to go ahead and stabilize the ozone layer. He was like, but right when he was about to leave with her, Nora was like, "Nah, bro, what are you doing, man? Why is you even here?" And so she goes off on him, tells Nora, well, she looks at the volcano like, "Why are you even here on a Sunday? Like, why is people here on a Sunday?" And she kicks Lex out. Lex is pissed, thinking that Poison Ivy is the reason why he can't come in there and do what he needs to do. Come to find out that he realizes that Poison Ivy is not there because they're in the future at this time. So he decides to enact a plan for his goons to go in there and attack them, so he could get Volcana, so she could do what she needed to do to help him with his plan. So basically, Nora's like went back into the office like, yeah, like she's trying to get her some D. You know what I'm saying? She's still trying to get her some D. And as she goes in, as she's about to do it, the Lex people come in and start attacking. They all fight. King Shark comes in. He kills somebody because he don't know what's going on. This is when Nora says again, "Why is so many people here on a Sunday?" Like she's not understanding why people are working on Sunday. And King Shark was like, "Well, this is what I do. This is my day when I go and do all my stuff." And so we head back to Bane when he's actually knocking on the pasta maker's door. Nobody answers. He goes in, and all of a sudden he's met with a knife to the chest. And you're like, "What the hell? Who's stabbing me?" Find out it's an old lady, and she's the one who's the best pasta maker. So Bane is like, "Yes, I found it." So how they do a little break. They go back to now the people at the Legion of Doom, and they're trying to get out of the Legion of Doom. So what happens is King Shark comes up with the idea. Well, first of all, they're trying to get out of the Legion of Doom. The reason they're trying to get out of the Legion of Doom is because Lex, after realizing his plans was foiled by them by killing all the people that he sent in to attack them, he decides to put this big barrier up around the Legion of Doom so they can't even get out. So now they're trying to get out. King Shark thoughts, well, maybe because he's always wanted to do this and he's been planning for this his whole life, he's actually able to hack into whatever device it is that's holding the shields up so he could try to get out of it. And that was his whole thing he wanted to do. He's like, he's always wanted to do this. So he's trying to hack his way out, but it was taking too damn long. And so they kind of skip ahead, and then now we go back to where Bane is now back with the pasta maker, and she's actually showing him how to make pasta, how to crack the eggs, and she's like inspiring him to like use Nora as the greatest inspiration for him to now make the best pasta in the world. And it's that whole scenario is just stupid. The whole like montage and him trying to break the egg, and he was kneading the dough, and she was like, "Yeah, use the inspiration of you touching her breasts and even pinching the nipples and all type of stupid stuff." I was like, "What in the world they got this man doing?" So he's like all excited about that, and then we head back to them trying to get out of this Legion of Doom, and what they decided to do was it was taking King Shark too long to hack everything out, try to get everything out. So Nora decides she wants to get the ambiguing gun that they used earlier, and she's like, maybe if she can make the building big, it'll destroy the shield and make it get out. So she goes and she shoots it, but instead of ambiguing the actual building, it bounces off everything in the building and it hits King Shark's hand. Now he can't even hack in, and he's now mad and pissed off, and saying that he can't even do anything. So like he runs off. And so then they kind of slip back to where Bane. Now we're back where Bane is, and he is now like sleep, and because he's had a whole night of trying to make the perfect pasta and everything. He wakes up and realizes that Mama is looking at him, and she gives him a bowl of pasta and basically tells him to eat it. He's like, "This is the best pasta he's ever tasted." what who made it, and she told him it was him. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, you are now the official second best pasta maker in Italy. And he's like, yeah. So then it skips back to the people at the Legion of Doom, and Nora is still trying to have freaking sex. Like she's still trying to go in, and what happened was King Shark just started freaking out. Like he's like, "Yo, my babysitter's probably tripping right now," and he said, and he like with his hands, how the hell he gonna be able to drive home? So he's like just flipping out, and and so then Lex get mad and decides, you know what, I'm gonna turn up the heat in the office to make them hot, because Nora Freeze and Captain Cold or whatever. So it was funny. They did a whole little scene when he does it. Nora's like, "Oh man, I'm melting. My pits are wet." Blah 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 blah. And Captain Cold's like, "Don't worry about that, babe. The heat is my natural enemy, so I go ahead and I can show you how to handle it." And he starts shooting her with his freeze rays, and she's like, "Oh yeah, do it like that." It was crazy, 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 crazy. And so he turns up the heat, like I said, and they do that. But then he was like, that's not what he meant to do. He meant to actually do some poison gas. So the poison gas starts coming in. They all freaking out. So we jump back to Bane. He's now packing up his suitcase with all the pasta that he made in it, which is, I mean, okay, I guess. He wants to just take the pasta back. And he's telling, Mama how he's going to go back and he's going to make the pasta for her and all this stuff. And Mama was like, "Nuh-uh, bro. Where you finna go?" And she beats him up and basically tells him how he's going to stay there because he's going to be the person who takes over for her when she dies. Because she's like, "You think I'm going to teach you everything I know and just let you take it away and go back to America and then make some type of movie about my story? Nah." And so she's like, "Nah, you gonna stay. You think I taught you?" She's like, "You think I taught you all that just to not get nothing in return?" And so he was like, "Oh," and then she beats him over the head, and she knocks him out or whatever. So, so yeah, like with him being knocked out, we head back to the Legion of Doom, and then hold on, y'all. I'm sorry, something crazy just happened. So Nora basically is getting everybody to trying to find a way to get out. They find some gas masks to go ahead and protect them from the poison, but then they also found a whole bunch of flammable stuff while Volcana was in the actual place where all the flammable stuff was. So it was easy for her to blow something up, which gives Nora the idea to get all that stuff and use all that stuff to blow stuff up. And so they get all the stuff and they decide they want to find a way to actually where they need to put it to blow stuff up and whatever. So then we go back to Bane, and basically he wakes up and realizing that Mama done knocked him out and she's about to torture him to tell him, why you about to leave. Like she's about to put his hand in the meat grinder and everything. Like it's crazy. So he has to convince her to say, "Hey, don't do this. I need my hands. I'm a supervillain in Gotham." Blah blah blah. And Mom was like, "Oh, you a supervillain in Gotham? Okay, bruh. Well, I need you to help me out." And he was like, "Oh, what do you need?" So she calls a number, and basically it's Clayface, and she made she made him call Clayface. Bane called Clayface and asked Clayface for front row seats to his concert or whatever in Vegas. And so Clayface is like, "All right, cool, I do it, but you got to headbutt Ivy on live TV so she could be embarrassed." And he was like, "Man, but Ivy is the boss of his girlfriend or whatever, or the girl he likes. It's not his girlfriend." And so Mommy puts the knife to his chest. And she's like, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll do it. And she's like, "Oh, okay, cool, bet." And so it goes back, like basically he gets the tickets for the lady. So it goes back to everybody at the Legion of Doom, and they're now taking all these little snacks, these exploding things, all this flammable stuff, and they throw them down an elevator shaft. And what was funny is that Nora basically punches Volcana in the stomach to make her throw up lava, and it starts a chain reaction of the explosion, and like literally the Legion of Doom blows up. Really, like it's a big explosion, and so the guy who's on the moon base for Lex sees the explosion in Gotham, and it actually, oh, I'm sorry, they threw all the flammable stuff in there, and one of the things they threw in there also was the embiggening gun. They threw it down there just for the hell of it. It didn't have anything in there, but apparently the gun was in there when it exploded. So when everything exploded, the embiggening thing basically made the the ozone level get a little bit bigger, 10 feet to be exact. So now he was able to use his laser gun to make the ozone layer better or whatever, to fix it, as he wanted to say. So 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 we go back to Bane. He's getting ready to go. He pulls off, and as he's telling everybody bye, you look up and he finds the little kids again, ties them up. So I was like, yeah, that's what I'm like. Okay, he found them. Okay, that's good. So they ain't make him too much of a punk, even though he is. But so he went back and got his moped back, and he started to drive back home to Gotham. And then we head back to Gotham, and we realize that everybody's now coming out of the Legion of Doom after it exploded, and King Shark is like, oh my god. Well, they all look up and realize the sun is gone. It was like, because of Lex shooting the laser, he shot the laser and basically everything went dark. And so when they were coming out, they were like, where'd the sun go? And King Shark started freaking out. So I gotta get my babies, and he runs off to go find his kids. And Captain Cold was like, yo, let's go ahead and finish this while we know that the world is about to end. Let's have some sex real quick. And then Nora was like, no, I want to get free stuff, because she wanted to go looting. I was like, oh my god, this girl right here, she tripping. So she goes off, and she's looting. She finds like a whole bunch of stuff she wants to do. And as she was looting, Bane shows up. It was like, Nora, look what I found. I couldn't find the pasta maker handle for you, but I became the pasta maker. And Nora was like, hey, I ate pasta for lunch. And he was like, oh, he was so sad because he went through all that just to make pasta for her, and she already had pasta already. So then she's like, so what do you want me to do? He was like, but she was like, no. She was like, can you go ahead and break that glass for me? Because she wants this umbrella, this beach umbrella or whatever. So he was like, but I thought you wanted pasta. And he kind of just gives this look like, oh, fuck it. So then he goes and he picks up, he goes and he actually breaks the glass, and she takes the thing out, and now we're back to where Ivy and Harley comes back to the past. So now we're back at the time where they actually get there. We're back in normal time now. So what had happened was, the reason why you see Bane running around with the pasta in the water, and they're just causing destruction, him and Nora, and Nora's like, oh my god, where y'all been, blah blah blah, and she's like, y'all are missing the apocalypse. And she's like, oh, it already started, basically the beginning of the episode. And so then you see that they was like, well, we could go back in time, and that's when the time thing blows up. And you find out it blows up because King Shark was doing a Molotov cocktail, and instead of throwing it at where he wanted to throw it, he threw it at the time machine because his big hands didn't have no accuracy. So that blows up everything. So everybody's like, oh man, the world is going crazy now. How are we gonna stop this? And then you see Superman fly in, and he's like, everybody get to safety. And he tries to fly off, but he can't fly off. And he covers himself. He's like, oh my god. And he freaks out, and he's like, nobody touch him. Nobody touch him. And he runs off because he's mad because he can't fly because there's no sun. So then Ivy and Harley's like, yo, do you think Lex did this all just to be petty to Superman? And everybody's like, well, maybe. And then that's how the episode ends. And I was like, bruh, are you serious? I was like, I can't believe that. That whole episode was basically them just being stupid and just showing how stupid the world ends. So now I'm really wondering if that's what he was doing, because he did have a beef with Ivy. So was he doing that for Ivy, or was he really trying to save the ozone, or again was that really a petty move against Superman. So we'll find out in the next episode. That is crazy. That is crazy. I was like, what? But let's go ahead and move on to the next show. And right now, the next show is My Adventures with Superman. This is the season finale. It's episode 10. So this is, as of right now, after seeing the last episode, I would give this show pretty good rating. I would say it was about a good 7 out of 8. Well, 7 out of 10. I was going to get a 7.5 or 8, somewhere around there. That's why I probably put it. And it was a pretty good show overall. They do some things that's kind of crazy how they changing up just the whole aesthetic of Superman and the things that they have going on around him, and just the changes of the villains and stuff. But I enjoyed the show, even though those are crazy. Those big changes happen. I still enjoyed the show. So we start the show off with this episode off with Clark basically dreaming that the invasion is happening, and his people are coming in, and he's freaking out. So he wakes up because it's a bad dream, and he decides to go to his ship, and he sees his dad, which he doesn't know is his dad at the time. And he basically tells me, I'll never be like you guys, and if you come here, I'll stop you guys. So then he was like, okay, cool. So then it left, and basically you come up to everybody is now heading to the Kent's house, Lois, Clark, and Jimmy, because Clark is hosting Thanksgiving for the year. And Lois has invited her father. And this is where I get to the point to where I'm telling you, I knew I was right. That was her freaking dad. I was like, because why would they just call him the General? And the only time they've called anybody in the Superman show the General is usually her dad. So I was like, yeah, that's her dad. I mean, they did also give him his name up, Sam. And, if you know anything about that character, his name is Sam, the General Sam Lane or whatever. So yeah, she invites him to the dinner. Clark talks. The General shows up, and Clark realizes that it's the General, and he freaks out. So he pulls Jimmy to the side and tells Jimmy, "Hey, yo, the General is Lois's dad. What the hell are we going to do?" And so Jimmy was like, "Oh man, I don't know what to do." So then everybody started telling Jimmy, for some freaking reason, the little secrets they have about what was going on today. Like Clark's mom was like, she doesn't like the General. He's an evil man. He's a bad man. Blah 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 blah. Lois is trying to keep the secret about the little orb that shows, the different type of evil Superman and blah blah blah. All that good stuff like that. And so he gets mad. He pulls both Lois and Clark outside and tells them, "Hey, look, I'm not going to be this person today to keep everybody's secret. So y'all finna go ahead and squash this. You need to tell Lois that her dad is the General." Well, first he starts off with saying that he goes to Lois goes to kind of get her bag so the orb won't come out, and the orb comes out and it basically shows evil Superman. And Clark was like, "Oh man," and she's like, "It's not you, blah blah blah. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about all that stuff like that." And as they were talking, the orb opens up and the kryptonite comes out, and it affects Clark. Clearly, it's kryptonite, so it makes him weak, and he gets sick. He gets sick and everything like that. So it triggers a self-defense reaction from the ship, and so the ship goes into like this straight up destroy this rock, and it's in danger mode type thing. So they get rid of the kryptonite for a minute, and the General is like, "Oh shoot, the invasion is happening again." So he tells everybody to get out of the way, go hide somewhere, and he's going to take care of the problem. So basically they show him he holds up he's getting attacked by these robots because the robots are not coming out of the ship, and they're attacking everybody. He uses his gun and he calls for backup, and he's like shooting up all this stuff. But then as he's calling for backup, Lois looks up and sees that it's her dad. Her dad's calling for backup, and he's like, "It was you. It was you the whole time. You were the one who kidnapped Superman, and you're the one who's behind all these different projects and all this stuff like that." And he's like, "How do you know anything about that?" And she's like, "I know about it." So then Superman comes down, and Lois sees him, and she jumps in his arms and says, "Jimmy went that way." So they both fly off. And so the General was like, "What the hell going on here?" So he kind of walks off. So they went to go look for Jimmy. And they found out that Jimmy had the kryptonite, and the kryptonite itself actually was reacting to the robots, and it actually just the same reaction they had with Clark. It reacted to the robots. Now, see, that's where that's the deviation for what kryptonite does. That's cool that it actually interacts with the technology, and it actually grows crystals on them to kind of like incapacitate them. That is pretty dope, and that's a new thing. I mean, I know some people probably feel the way I kind of did initially, but after you kind of pay attention to what's going on, you can kind of understand what is it. It's a rock that takes over and messes up the physiology of Kryptonians and just their things. So I can kind of see how that would mess stuff up. So so yeah, that, like I said, they find him. He's like surrounded by all these robots that came after him, and he used the kryptonite to actually destroy them. So when they said anything, the ship opens a portal all of a sudden, and the portal on the other side of the portal you see another ship. So now you're like, oh, I think the invasion is really happening now. So the ship slowly starts coming into the portal. Um, Clark realizes that since they realize that the kryptonite is actually messing up the technology, he decides if he takes the kryptonite to the ship, it'll actually destroy the ship too. But then that was also him making that chance of taking that risk of making a sacrifice to save everybody, because he doesn't want anybody to get hurt by anything that's happening, especially from his planet and stuff like that. So he goes with the kryptonite into the ship, and he pulls the kryptonite out, and that makes him weak again once again. But before he does that, he goes into the ship, and the ship is like let all these robots off, and he starts fighting the robots. As he's fighting the robots, one was getting the upper hand, and his dad, the AI version of his dad, comes out and basically helps him to tell him to get up and follow him. And so they both like fighting the robots on the way to the control room. So when they get to the control room, that's when the orb opens up and the kryptonite comes out, and Clark kind of throws it at the control center, and he's thinking that it's going to start doing anything, but it doesn't really do anything. It does weaken him, but it doesn't do anything to the ship per se. So with when all that's happening, he decides to just grab the kryptonite and punch into the system, and then that way the kryptonite actually infected the rest of the system, and it blows up and it knocks him back. So he passes out. He wakes up and he sees his dad. Basically talking to him, saying, "You know what? You need to live, and you need to get off the ship and survive." Because basically told him that he was trying to just save his family. And so that's when the AI realizes, he needs to save his son. So he puts him in a escape hatch and shoots him out of the ship before the ship blows up. So as the ship is blowing up, the other ship that's coming in the portal starts, like, it's like not even halfway in, it's like just the tip of the ship is in, and the portal closes and the tip of the ship falls back to Earth. So now you're like, oh shoot, got some more alien technology or whatever. And this is where you see Clark falls back to Earth. Superman falls back to Earth in the spaceship, and he's on the ground. And then the general sees him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm finna kill this guy." And so Lois shows up and tells her dad not to do it. He's been trying to save the Earth this whole time. And her dad is like, "Look, you don't understand what's going on. You don't know what you're talking about. Blah blah blah." And she's like, "You have to kill him, and like she basically saying you can't kill him. Understand where I'm going. Just call it off." And so that's when Amanda Waller start calling back, and asking him what does he need, and then he basically said it was a false alarm because he didn't want to kill his daughter. And so then she goes back and she helps Superman up, and she looks back and her dad is gone. So he's like, okay, I wonder if he put two and two together and realized that Clark is Superman, but I doubt it. They're gonna try to at least you think they're gonna probably try to make that, stretch that whole situation out. And so the general, yeah, he wanted to kill him, and he left. And so Lois basically Everybody gets back to normal, and they go to have like Thanksgiving dinner now. The dad comes out. It's so funny because the whole episode, the dad was trying to get the turkey to cook, but it wasn't cooking because something just wasn't right. So he brings the turkey out and says it still ain't up to regular temperature. So Clark basically lasers it, and it gets the thing. So everybody's like, all right, let's start the dinner. But then right before that, they asked Jimmy like, oh Jimmy, didn't you want to tell everybody something? Tell me why this dude sold the Flamebird rights to the Daily Planet for $5.6 million. What? So now we're gonna in this world we're gonna say Jimmy is a rich man now. That's crazy, and he's still young. So that could be a whole bunch of stuff. They could probably integrate that whole thing they played up in the Supergirl TV show, where Jimmy was like, I forget what the name of the superhero was, because it is a real superhero, but it wasn't played by Jimmy initially. But Jimmy was a superhero in Supergirl, and they might allow him to be that same kind of superhero in this cartoon. So that'll be interesting, to have Superman have a little bit of help from his friends. But that's still kind of crazy how they literally gave Jimmy that money for that. So here are the end credit, like the ending of the episode, basically, where they show the Kryptonians. They show the events that's happening where Clark is fighting the ship off and all that other stuff, and the portal opens. They show it from the vision of the actual Kryptonians that's on the other side of the portal, and you find out the first thing you see, it's Brainiac. I was like, wow, they are going deep. They had to just throw Brainiac out there first. And then you come to find out that Brainiac isn't the one who's doing it. It's Brainiac is working with the person who's doing it. And I'm pretty sure that's clearly Zod, because he says Neil at the end of the episode. So that's Zod. But what's funny is that when you were watching the show, and if you happen to put the captions up, it tells you that the first person is Brainiac. Like, if you didn't have your captions up, you would assume it's Brainiac only because of the 3 dots on the forehead of the robot. So that's why, like, when I first saw it, I didn't see it with the captions on. And I watched it again, and then you see with the captions on, it actually says Brainiac is speaking. I'm like, oh, but then when they go to the other one, it just says a Kryptonian warrior. So, but he says Neil. That's Zod. That's Zod all day. So I wonder how they're going to play this up. I'm mad that they destroyed the ship. So now they got to explain, how is Clark going to actually get the information about his life? So that's going to be a thing they need to do. It's crazy that they made that ship so big too. Like, that's the ship that brought him there, and it's so big. So that's funny. And I know I swear I thought the ship was smaller than that. But when they show him when he was actually learning that he's Superman, technically he had powers, it was a big ship. So I wonder if that was one of the ships. Well, no, it couldn't have been the ships prior when they did the invasion the first time. So I'm assuming it's probably the ship that his pod just happened to get bigger over time when he got to Earth. So I just wonder how they're gonna introduce, like, how he's gonna find out who he is exactly. I want to see how they're gonna do. I want another season. I do. I actually want another season of the show. It's a pretty good show. Let's see what they could do. Let's see the other takes of the other villains that he has, and let's go from there. If you guys like this episode, you got more questions about the episode, you want to talk about some of the craziness, even just about the Zod and the Brainiac reveal at the end, you go ahead and put some comments down below. Like this video if you like it. Come back next week. We will probably do more episodes on Harley Quinn. This is the last episode that's probably going to have Superman in it for a while until the next season starts. So I don't know if I want to pair Harley with another one or actually just do a single Harley Quinn review. But we will continue this later, and I will see you guys next time.